Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this edition of our Turnaround Marriage Facebook Live. Hope everybody's having an amazing weekend. And so we give you Labor Day weekend greetings. Hope you get an extra day off tomorrow and get to enjoy some time together and maybe time as a family. We did a lot of hiking yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. And it's always great to have a little bit of extra family time, a little extra time to have some time together, And so, guys, we want to come to you today and share with you basically a myth. Like, we want to bust a myth today. And that myth is essentially this, that it's a common held belief that fixing your marriage takes months and months and years of hard work.
Yeah, and it's simply just not true. So if today your marriage is in crisis, or your marriage is in trouble, or maybe it's just struggling, or maybe it's just not running on all six cylinders, right. Maybe you've been in counseling for a long time. Maybe you've tried programs, and maybe you've tried a lot of different things, and you've read a lot of books, or you've been to retreats or whatever, and you've put a lot of work in, and you still can't figure out any traction. This Facebook Live is for you, because we want to let you know it doesn't have to take months and months and years.
Right. That's exactly right. But before we dive into that, we just have a few announcements that we want to make sure that we communicate today. And one of them is that we have a September challenge in our group. And basically, we've had everybody commit to one thing that they can be doing differently, but intentionally doing to show up in their marriage in a different way. Some people have committed to just making sure they have a kiss before they go off to work, or making sure they pray together every day, or making sure they're giving a compliment. And so if you're not in our group yet, make sure that you're in there. Just all you have to do is search Turnaround Marriage on Facebook, and you'll see our group. We've got about 1,200 in there. And some of you are watching from that group today. It's an awesome community, a lot of resourcing going on there. And you can just look for the September challenge, click on what that is, what you want to pick to commit to doing for the rest of this month. And I'm telling you guys, even those little things make for a different outcome altogether. And, I've gotten some great feedback from, not really an article, really a testimonial that someone had shared about getting married, knowing that her life was going to be limited. And it's very, very powerful by Ruth Vanderbroek. It's in our Facebook group. And so again, if you're not in there, make sure you check that out. And if you have not read that yet, boy, spend 5 minutes and read that. And that
very really, encouraging.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, she talks about how she did not marry the man of her dreams. And it's very interesting. So you definitely want to check that out. One more announcement is that Tuesday night, we're going to be going live with one of our recent graduates, and they're going to be sharing their story from ashes to beauty. And so we really hope that you guys will check it out. If you're in a blended marriage, if you
their whole story is like a Mythbuster.
They have an age difference. Like they've overcome like so many challenges in such a short time. So we hope you guys can check that out. They are an amazing couple, and they've had just a fantastic turnaround because they've dove in to do the hard work. And honestly, we had so much fun along the way. It didn't have to be boring, difficult.
When we say hard work, it's very different than what we're talking about with our Mythbuster today, right?
It
is work, but it's fun hard work.
That's exactly right. And the hard work doesn't have to be dragged on and on and on forever. So that's what we want to also talk about today.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. So the myth is that, fixing your marriage is going to take months and months or years and years. And the fact is that people actually really believe this. A lot of people believe, well, it took us a lot of years to get here. And like, you just can't undo that stuff quickly. There's too many hurts. There's too much going on. And we were just too dysfunctional to turn this around quickly. And that's just simply not true.
Yeah, exactly. And so I talk to people all the time, Rach, and it's really, people will show up with that attitude like, well, we've really got some work to do. And what they mean by that is they have spent 5, 10, 20 years of getting down this path. And maybe even the conventional wisdom would tend for them or lend them to think that that's exactly what has to happen, is that you basically got to do 20 years of unwinding, or maybe even half that time unwinding where you guys got, confused, got that dysfunction built up. Mm-hmm. And that's just really not the case. So, here's a deal I would even add to that. What a lot of times couples are looking at are not just that they see that there's dysfunction within their marriage, but they oftentimes will look specifically at the way that they've been coping. So if things have not gone well, in a year, 2, 5 years, whatever it is, and they're fighting, or they're feeling really lonely, or they're feeling angry, frustrated, whatever the emotion is. It's sometimes like a pressure cooker, and people are looking for relief. And so they could go to eating or not eating. They could go towards pornography. They could turn to alcohol, anything to numb the pain, anything to escape.
Spending, social media, just numbing, just whatever, time wasting.
Exactly. So people are looking like, oh my goodness, it's not just that we have dysfunction. It's not that just that we're lonely in our marriage, but we have all these coping things. In fact, a lot of times people will get on the phone with me and I'll ask them what's not working in your marriage, and they'll list out the things that they're coping with.
Right.
They're like oftentimes vices, right? And they'll look at them and say, wow, we've got this big mess. And certainly the coping is not a good thing. And we do have to get to the heart of the issue and fixing that. Another reason is many times, as Rachel mentioned, is that hurts have built up. Like you know that you've hurt the other person. You absolutely know, maybe even more than that they've hurt you. I mean, what types of ways come to mind for you, Rach?
Oh, well, yeah, mistrust, infidelity. It could be just those hateful words. It could just be cycles of contempt or stonewalling, or, however you have developed this poor communication between the two of you and you don't seem to know how to get out of it.
Right.
Those hurts can stack and build, and then they become resentments, and the resentments turn to bitterness, and it just can start to really poison you and poison the way you see everything. And it doesn't have to stay that way.
Right. That's exactly right. And oftentimes, in addition to that, people I think sometimes they go for help that sometimes the people don't know what they're doing. Like maybe they're well-intentioned. They may even be professionals. They may not. But oftentimes people go to therapy, they go to counseling, or they'll go to a friend or maybe even a pastor, and they're realizing they're not getting much of an outcome. Like they'll look at it and say, we've been going for 6 months and things are not happening. So obviously, if in 6 months we've made this much progress, it's going to have to take a really, really, really long time, right? That's their thinking. And it almost logically makes sense. And I believed oftentimes that that's because the strategies that they use are not geared for effectiveness. They're not geared for the outcome. So I guess I would ask that question, why would you not want a quick turnaround if it's possible? And I absolutely believe it is. So people out there will think, we've got to address these marriage problems. And so sometimes people will even say that we've got to address these problems in our marriage. For me to get whole, for all the coping that we're having, we've got to fix the marriage. And so they're looking on that. They're looking at the fact that the marriage needs work. And that may be true, right? But that's not the whole story. The marriage is the coming together of two flesh, two becoming one flesh, right? And so the marriage is made up of you and me.
Yeah.
So the marriage problem isn't the marriage. The marriage problem is you and me, right? If there's problems with the marriage, that means you and I are not showing up the way that we should, right?
Absolutely.
So people think we got to work on these marriage problems. Okay. And a lot of times people also show up and say, well, my spouse has these issues. They're coping. I caught them in pornography. I caught them drinking too much. Like they've got the problem. And so they think, well, they're going to have to get all this stuff addressed for us to have this outcome in a reasonable amount of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people think, well, I've hurt them. They've hurt me.
Right.
We've built up all these hurts over time. And so therefore it's going to take a whole lot of time to unwind all that hurt. And a lot of times with like traditional counseling, and I've had good counselors and bad counselors over the years.
No question about it.
I mean, years ago I went to this counselor and all she had me do every single day was rehash the pain of my sexual abuse and rehash the grief and the whatever. And it was like, literally I would go there and tell her about it and cry and cry and cry. Week after week after week after week. And it was just like, I felt really a lot better after I got done. But then the next week it was the same thing. Like, and I wasn't getting any healing. I wasn't moving past it. And so like this idea of that we have to rehash every bit of hurt that you've done to me and I've done to you. We have to undo all that. Like there's so much grace and forgiveness. And there's so much grace in looking at the front windshield rather than looking in the rearview mirror and like rehashing every little thing that happened. Right. You don't have to do that. And it doesn't have to take forever.
Yes, absolutely. I totally concur with you. And so what happens a lot of times is the couples will look at, here's how we're coping. This is the dysfunction. I know it doesn't feel good. Whatever reason it is that they realize, boy, this is not the way it should be. They realize this is not the marriage God intended for them. They realize the pain that they have, whatever it would that they're facing, the loneliness, disconnection, knowing that their marriage is not what they want it to be. It's not their dream marriage by any stretch. It could mean that there's not intimacy problems, a lot of things. And so when they realize it's bad, they think, I need a fix, right? So they will pick up a book. And sometimes there's amazing books, amazing resources out there, but they'll think, I need to pick up a book, or we need to go talk to someone. Like we need to talk to the pastor and his wife, which can be great, getting that wisdom. Or it could be, I need to go to counseling. And all those can be really good. But it may not be enough. It may be a recipe for you staying stuck for a really, really long time. It might even be a recipe for you guys trying these things and it really not leading to any turnaround.
Yeah, that's the problem. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah,
it's like if we say, well, we're going to try this, just in your language, you said
you've
given yourself an out. If it doesn't work out, well, see, I tried it. Well, I tried. And then you can have this victim mentality of like, well, we tried and it didn't work out. So, instead of like making the decision, we're fixing this now. Let's get somebody's hand and let's get the help now. Because it
is like that.
It is drawing that line in the sand.
Yes.
And making the commitment.
Absolutely. And an illustration that I use to explain that, and we use it in our master class, but I'll let it out here too, because I think it's really effective. A lot of times when there is dysfunction in the marriage, it's kind of like this. Like you've had a pitcher of orange juice that's been sitting in the back of the fridge, and maybe it's been in there 5, 10, 20 years, and it's been souring like really, really bad. And people think, we need this orange juice. This marriage is not the way that it should be. I know what we need. Let's add some sugar. Let's add a little honey, maybe let's put salt around it or something and make it a fancy adult drink or something. I don't know. But they think that they can try all these little things, like a book, like going on vacation, like buying their spouse an expensive gift, or even sometimes going to counseling. But that is not enough. A little sugar is not going to make that work. What is going to happen, guys, drawing the line in the sand looks essentially like this: taking the pitcher and dumping it out, washing it out, and filling it with good orange juice. So we're not saying you have to throw your whole marriage past out, but what we are saying is the way that you've been doing things, if you realize it has not been working and it's gotten you to a bad place, it's time to dump it out, wash it out, and fill it up with what works. And if you can do that, guys, I'm here to tell you, we help people every day fill up with good orange juice and get the turnaround that they've been longing for, literally to get the marriage that they've been dreaming about. It's as simple as that. But the question is for you, are you trying things, or are you going to draw the line in the sand, right?
Absolutely. And there's 2 examples that's coming to mind. One is a couple that just started about a week and a half ago, and they're an amazing couple.
They're awesome.
And
so cool.
Literally in a week and a half.
Yeah.
It is completely amazing when you say, we're making the decision, we're fixing this now.
Yep.
And they dive in, they start to own their stuff 100%. It's amazing the countenance.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. It's amazing the difference in how they're talking to each other, how they're owning their stuff, and how they're like, and she texted him and said, we're in this together. Like, we're doing this. And it just like made his day. Right. And like, we're just amazed at just in like a very short time. They've already pivoted all these little things. They've been completely coachable, and like they're already getting an outcome. It's so cool. And then the second example I'm thinking of is a client that just signed on a couple of days ago. And my gosh, she just texted.
Note that you're saying days, not weeks. Days ago.
And she's barely jumped
in
the program.
And it's one person, right?
One person fighting for her marriage. She's committed to fixing this. And I love her already. And she says, you should know, I've had more conversations and fun with my spouse today than I have in months. I'm not even entirely sure why. She says, I feel lighter and more hopeful than I have in a long time. She says, so it's huge praise to just invite him along to go on errands with me and engage in a spiritual conversation, and even having him around. She said, I want you to know I attribute it in a large part to your prayers and knowing that I have your support. It's so, so valuable. Thank you.
Yeah.
And like, that just made her day. And literally like and again, she's been 100% coachable, owning her stuff, saying, I can't fix him, but I can work on me. And
hope is a key thing. She said it. It's so clear with a couple that you were referring to at the beginning, they, or just a moment ago, rather, that hope is there now. Like, yes. And so when we say to couples, And we put it in our group a lot. We put it on our some of our advertisements, some of our quotes that we put out there. There is hope. There really is hope. But there is not much hope if you're not going to change. There's not much hope if you're going to stay stuck. And it really is a decision that you have to make, right? So let me share with you how you can get there, how you can bust out of being stuck, whether it's been 5, 10, 20 years, or even more, 30 years plus. You can get out of that, guys, when you go back to the basics of how God designed it. That's where we start with people. We go back to this. God did not intend for your marriage to be the struggle forever and ever. He intended it for it to be a blessing. He intended it for it to be a place of safety, of connection, of love, of intimacy with somebody else. I've often said, like, you're Rachel, I feel like you're the only one on earth that really understands me and I can like share my opinions with, and you don't throw them back in my face. Like, this is like the safest place, right?
And it wasn't always that way.
And it wasn't always
but that's true.
That way. Yeah.
That's true.
So going back to the basics are really, really important.
Yes, but not just going back to the basics, but really having someone hold your hand and show you how to apply those to your marriage right now, in the heat of the moment. And so, and that's exactly what we do with our clients. And really, then it's about really showing up. It's about how you're showing up in the marriage, 100% owning how this is going to play out, this dance of marriage. Like, I have to stop stepping on your toes. I have to learn the steps of the marriage dance. I've got to focus on me, and I can't sit there and blame you that you're the one stepping on me. It's really about that 100% ownership. Right.
Well, you could do that, but that's a recipe for going backwards or staying stuck. Yeah, exactly. So you've got to show up owning everything. Right. I think that's so critical. If you show up to, I talk with couples and sometimes they won't own 1% of what's going wrong in their marriage. And all they do is point fingers.
Right. How interesting that both of them could 100% blame the other person.
Yeah. Like, okay, this does not add up. 0 plus 0 does not equal 100. Right. That does not add up that way. So it's very interesting. If you can say, and that's one of the things we really teach our clients is if you can show up 100% coachable, committed, resourceful, if you can show up saying, I realize that I have not contributed to this marriage, to my spouse the way I've wanted to. Once you do, then everything can change. So it's like showing up as if you are 100% responsible for the outcome of your marriage, assuming that your spouse is going to do their part. If that marriage was 100% up to you and you both showed up that way, imagine the outcome you're going to get. And then, one other key factor to getting a quick, relatively short turnaround in your marriage is this. This is the secret sauce. This is the most important factor. It's getting accountability. It's just like you just shared, Rachel, that woman, our new client, sharing about how she feels supported and all that. And don't you think that's critical?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we're going to do way more when we're accountable than what we just promised. Like, for instance, the September challenge that Scott posted. A lot of you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then when we said, okay, how's it going? Crickets. Because nobody is keeping you accountable. We need that accountability to say, okay, let's do this together. You promised, you said you wanted this. You said you were going to do this. When are you going to do it? Because it's human nature. Like it's such human nature that we are going to say we're going to do things. But when you have somebody holding your feet to the fire, you are going to be way more likely to do it than if you just, say, oh yeah, I'm going to eat less sugar today, and if you don't have anybody holding you accountable, it's a lot easier to slack off on that. So,
and you're right. And accountability, what we mean by that is not, pointing a finger and yelling at you, although there are times when you need someone to, kick you in the pants and get moving. But accountability also can look like, I'm praying for you and I'm there for you. And I'm not here to pick sides. I'm not some friend that you can come complain at. I'm somebody that's going to help the two of you, or sometimes it's the one, to show up big in this marriage. In other words, being in someone who shows up in the mixture of their dysfunction and everything that's been going on. Show up with them to be that support, to say, guys, you can do this. Saying, guys, yeah, we need to make some adjustments. We need to change. But as we change, I'm promising you on the other side is beauty and healing and hope and a great future.
And there's so much power when someone believes in you before you believe in yourself.
Yes.
Someone says, you got this. I'm holding you. You can do this. Like it doesn't have to be as hard or as long or as painful or as whatever as you think it has to be.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do for our clients. And then we keep holding them after they graduate.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking for that, if you're thinking, we've done counseling, we've done retreats, we've done this and that and the other, and this is going to just take forever. And we just don't have the energy or whatever for it right now. We're here to say, bust that myth. It doesn't have to take forever.
Yeah.
Several pivots in the right direction, you're going to have a completely different trajectory. You're going to have a completely different outcome, and you can get it faster.
Right.
And we've got lots of examples of that in the real world, and we'll maybe do that another time. But we just want you to know, if that's you, then we want you. And if you're ready to be 100% coachable and committed, book the call with Scott. He would love to get on that breakthrough session with you.
Let me just clarify, Rach. This isn't for everybody. Like if you've got marriage problems, I'm not saying just book a call. I don't know that I can help unless you, just the way you described it, you can show up committed, coachable, and resourceful, ready to own your mistakes, ready to own your sins, ready to make the changes necessary to get a quick, amazing turnaround in your marriage. And guys, if that's you, if you're like, I'm drawing the line in the sand and I'm ready to get help now, I'm ready to make these changes, then this call is really for you. Maybe some of you, you're not ready yet, and that's okay. And maybe you might need to get on the call to figure out if you're ready yet. That's okay as well. So just go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. And I'll really look forward to talking to you, because guys, there's nothing that serves you better than clarity. And that's exactly what we're going to do on that phone. First of all, we're going to talk about what's not been working. We want to get clarity on that. Secondly, we're going to talk about what you dream that your marriage could be. Maybe what you dreamt it would be when you first got married all those years ago. And then thirdly, what we talk about is a path to get there. And if I can help you to get from where you are to what you dreamed that it could be, I'm absolutely going to make that clear. If there's something better, I'm going to point you there. But either way, you're going to get that clarity that perhaps you might be missing right now. You might, in other words, think it's a lot of other problems. It's the coping that's the problem. You need to get clarity on underlying what's not working. So look forward to talking to you. Book that call. And for the rest of you, I hope you have an amazing weekend. And I hope to talk to you soon. Hope to see you in our group. If you're not there yet, make sure you commit to our September challenge. And let's hear from you about that too.
And we want to see you guys Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for our live interview.
Yes.
From ashes to beauty, to beauty from ashes, or whatever we call it. Yeah. It's an amazing story, and it's going to give you a lot of hope.
Beauty from ashes. Yes. God bless you guys. Have a great day.
Bye.